Welcome back to the show. Today we have, I've not actually give you a proper title.
We've not got a
keep
role.
making up a new one every time I say it, but basically like Lewis is in charge of all the coaching in our program and the delivery of our coaching as well to our clients. And we're going to discuss something that's a really key topic for fitness owners as they're growing, which is managing obviously the quality of your products and the quality of your service as a coach versus being streamlined enough to be time efficient as a business owner. There's a spot in your career where you're moving from having a job as an online coach to running a business. And there's a transition period where, you need to start being a business owner, but you also still need to be a very good coach because you won't have removed yourself from that entirely. And you might never will fully, depending on, how you want to run your business. And managing those two things, because we've all seen them, change and be slightly different. I've seen coaches do it, do far, far too much coaching and be so in fulfillment that they can't grow a business. I've also seen coaches focus too much on the business and then the product falls apart and they struggle that way. So it's about striking a balance. And the chat we want to have today is about making sure that you get that balance right so that you can continue to have an amazing product, but also have the time back to actually grow the business.
So the first thing for me is like identifying what actually is the coaching aspect of your business and what is just delivery of information. So there'll be loads of things. If you're at that point, the sweet spot in your career that we're talking about, you've been coaching a while, you've got results, you've had clients, and you're now looking to scale out. So it is about efficiency. It's by that point you will have certain things that you realize that not everybody, but most people will need to know. You'll have things that you'll have issues that most people will run into. If you have got a niche, which you should have, you will be specializing in working with a certain set of issues. So the first thing that I would suggest everybody to do, even if you're not at that point, if you are developing as a coach, figure out what can be applied to everybody and what can be delivered to everybody and what needs to be delivered to the individual. And the way that obviously I went about that and the way that we've gone about that within FBU as well, because it's very, very similar, is if it is general knowledge that everybody needs to know or everybody can access, create some sort of resource for it, have somewhere that you can direct people to. If it's like, oh, I need to know about this, cool. Rather than me sitting and explain it to 20, 30, 40 clients at one point, I'm just going to create something incredibly detailed, which tells you everything that you need to know about it that I can direct you to. So the first thing would be, and this is where you need that time to do that, is if you are answering, what I say to the clients that I'm mentoring and what I did, the way that I built this in my own business is, as soon as I answered a question on 2 separate occasions, it went on a list. And then over time, I worked my way through that list and I developed something for every single one of those questions, because they're obviously the things that don't need tailoring to the individual. They don't really need, like back and forth with the client. So the first thing would be free up as much time like coaching in your check-ins or in your conversations by developing a bank of resources, whatever that is to you and your clients. It'll look different for everybody, where you can direct people to, rather than you just parrot style answering the same questions all the time.
Yeah. I think that's really key. I do think there's an element of still needing to give some form of relationship building.
Absolutely.
There's a balance that you've got to strike here, I think, between building out automated systems and resources and stuff like that, which is all well and good. But a reason a lot of people sign up for coaching is that personal element and that personal touch.
I've not made my second point yet, don't
I know you're going to get to it. But like, that's one of the things that for me as a business owner, like, you always need to map out like what the customer service element looks like.
Yeah.
It's not 2019 where you can be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter as long as you get the result. It fucking absolutely does matter how they get there.
The experience.
And this is the difference that you'll make between having some clients, right? Nowadays, usually if you're half decent at content and half decent at sales and marketing, you will get some clients that just do your program that walk through walls and get results.
Yeah.
Like they'll just be like, yeah, I'm super motivated. I'm on it. Like, let's go. Bam. So like most coaches, if you're not an absolute fucking loser, will have 4 or 5 really good client results because you'll have on average 4 or 5 clients that will just, whatever coach they signed up with, they were going to do brilliantly.
Yeah, they get result anyway. Yeah.
For me, the strength of your program is what's your hit rate. How many of your clients out of the ones that sign up get results? And it's sometimes quite appalling when you see these larger businesses and these larger coaching businesses. I'm looking at them thinking, right, if you've got 200 clients, like,
you're posting the same 10 results.
Yeah, like you should have 100 results minimum, like really minimum. Like for us, I'm like, you know, we've got 200 clients. Like if we can't put out one really, really good client win every single week, like really top notch, like business transformation, like what the fuck are we doing with them?
Yeah.
Like what are we doing with our clients? And I think that comes down to personal touch, because the more you generalize and the more you automate your business, the more you're leaving it down to the client and their individual drive.
Yeah, for
to
sure.
Succeed.
And that is the second point that I wanted to make. Obviously, when I knew we were going to talk about this topic, we're talking about balancing efficiency and coaching. So the first point is, if it can be applied to the masses, that's not coaching.
Yeah.
It's not, it's information delivery.
Yeah, for sure.
And do that however you want. That will obviously buy you back the time to actually coach. So the people that do need that personal touch, there'll be certain issues, like I said, that most people experience, but there'll be really specific issues that the individual will like hit during their time with you. You need to have that time to actually coach them through that, whether it is back and forth on WhatsApp, whether it is on a face-to-face call or a phone call or whatever. The way that you're going to create enough time to do that, as well as grow and scale a business, is by taking all that stuff that can be almost, like you said, automated off. But I don't think, I didn't want to get into this on this subject, but I don't think that sort of stuff, the delivery of information isn't coaching. Like you said, those people that come in and will get a result anywhere, that's not coaching.
It's pointing in the right direction. It's a dressed up program, basically.
You are a glorified plan writer. And again, ChatGPT can fucking do that. Like, that's not what they need. They need the implementation and application to their life and their circumstances. So by doing that, by taking all of that stuff off your plate, you're then going to have the time to actually coach the people that need the coaching. And it won't be, you might have clients that come in and need a lot more coaching than others, and people will go through waves. You'll have weeks where things are tough and you'll talk to clients a lot more than others, and then it'll kind of, it all averages out, right? But you need that time to actually be able to speak to the person.
I think a lot of coaches don't do an exercise where they sit down and they actually map out like what the customer service element should look like. So they don't go, okay, so this is what I want the standard service to be. I want them to come in, they have an onboarding call, then, you know, we reach out to them 3 times a week. We reply to their workouts, like we reply to their nutrition login on a daily basis. Then they get a weekly check-in, which is a formal review of the progress and dealing with any issues. I think a check-in, to be honest, for most coaches is a bullshit exercise, to be fair. I think for the emphasis that a lot of coaches put on a check-in, I feel like there's actually not a lot that's achieved by a check-in. I think daily accountability and that daily touch can probably do most of what a check-in does. Yep. I don't think a check-in should be for accountability, because accountability once a week is fucking nonsense.
No good, yeah.
So it should be done to like adjust plans.
Yeah.
Does that really need a check-in? No. It could probably be done on a weekly basis by the coach and say, right, it's been 7 days since your last update. It doesn't even need the client to really respond if they're on point with their stuff.
Yeah.
But what needs to happen is that, I think, regular conversation, that regular relationship building, that regular feedback that allows them to then, you know, make rapid changes. Like for me, if you reviewed your client's food diary like say you get your clients to do MyFitnessPal, for example. If you reviewed their MyFitnessPal on a day, you can leave that in. It's fine. I saw him press the button to edit it. Then I'm like, no, we're going after it.
Don't worry about it. We're on. We're rolling.
If you reviewed that food diary on a daily basis for the first 14 days of that client, you know, being with you, they'd probably make way more progress in their nutritional understanding than they usually do over a 30 to 90 day period.
Yeah.
But for some reason, coaches build this rigid system,
yeah,
or this system based off what they see others do. And I'll come out and say it right now. The standard of service provided in online coaching across the board on average is fucking atrocious. Okay. It used to be, we used to be able to sell it based on the fact that, well, if you have an in-person personal trainer, they're going to be with you for an hour a week. But as an online coach, they're going to help you manage your lifestyle outside of the sessions. They're going to be able to blah, blah, blah. Coaches are now worse than in-person personal trainers on the most part, because not only are they not replying to the clients daily anyway and doing a once a week check-in, which is what a lot of in-person personal trainers do when they see you on a Monday. They go, how was your weekend? It's being a glorified version of that. And now they're actually going to the gym on their own as well. So actually it's shit for the most part.
Throw into the mix that a lot of in-person personal trainers are now doing some of that as well.
Yeah.
Through coaching platforms honestly, or whatever.
I don't know when online coaching became set a plan and do a weekly check-in.
Yeah.
I don't know when that became a thing. I don't know when that got taught. I've certainly never taught anyone to do that. I've never ever taught anyone to provide that as a service, but that's become the standard. A week is a fucking long time for a regular client. What I think has happened is, right, so that, and this is opinion, it's not fact. This is what I think has happened with this process. The first people to do online coaching properly were bodybuilding coaches and powerlifting coaches.
That were selling plans.
Because they were the two that were most easily transitioned. If you're a bodybuilding coach, you don't need to check your client's food diary every fucking day, because it's generally the same shit. They eat the same thing every single day. Nothing wrong with that, okay? They have a weekly check-in because generally over a 7-day period, enough time has gone in for them to be able to assess whether changes need to be made. Sound. Those check-ins do, as far as I'm aware, generally get more frequent as they get closer to show dates because the changes are more rapid. That's fine for a bodybuilding coach. And that's why bodybuilding coaches can handle 100 fucking clients, because that's all they have to do. So 100 check-ins to a bodybuilding coach is 100 lots of 15 minutes. Cool.
Yeah.
Sound. The problem then becomes is when that's become a standard that's being put on everyday people that aren't, listen, all bodybuilders aren't professional athletes by any stretch of the imagination. But if you are deciding to do a bodybuilding show, you have naturally, literally gone, fuck everything else I'm doing a bodybuilding show. I'll make it work around work. I'll make it work around my kids. And generally people with very busy careers and children don't do bodybuilding because they know that those things clash. So that has become and then coaches have been given online personal training by bodybuilders because they're the people they look up to. They want to emulate their physiques. And then they've gone, oh, this is what online coaching is.
Yeah.
And it's not. None of that is, and listen, it's got the value for the people that want to do it. It's not coaching. It is planning.
Yeah.
It's strategic planning for an end result, which is fine for bodybuilders. It's fine for powerlifters. Powerlifters don't need their coach to text them and say, how did you feel today? Like, are you all right? How are you getting on?
Yeah.
Don't need to know that. They need to look at the numbers at the end of the week and go, okay, based off the percentages and the numbers you hit last week, here are your new set of percentages for next week.
Yeah.
And again, nothing wrong with that. That's a service that needs to be delivered. But that is not personal training.
Yeah,
that is not coaching. And I think that's what happened. That became the norm because people saw that and got delivered that. And I think actually it's nowhere near what it should be.
Yeah, things have advanced so much. Even in the past, I got into this in 2019. So about 4 years ago now, actually, around this time, 4 years ago. Things have changed so much already. And this whole idea of having a niche and working with a certain type of person and fixing a certain set of problems, one of the reasons it's so important is because it will change what your service looks like. Like if you are working with highly driven men, whatever, do they want you to check in on them every single day? Probably not. But if you are working with people with serious emotional eating issues, or they're working on relationship with food stuff, do they need a couple of touch points per day just to check in on them? Absolutely, of course they do. And so many people are, we see it all the time, and thankfully the coaches that we work with are susceptible to changing things based on our recommendation. But we'll have people come in, and I had somebody that wanted to coach people on a relationship with food and was asking ridiculous things like body fat percentage in their onboarding. I'm like,
but that's because they've got that as a standard from somewhere else.
And so many people are asking for so much information, not just in onboarding, not just in application forms, in weekly check-ins, and they're not fucking doing anything with it. So something that I will say to coaches all the time is, your client fills this in. Somebody sent me a check-in form the other day that was 23 questions long. Mine's 7.
Yeah.
23 questions long. I'm like, how many of these questions do you do you pay attention to when you send the feedback? How many things do you actually talk about? Or like 8, 9? So what the fuck are you asking the other 14 questions for then?
To look clever.
Why do you need to know? Oh, well, because, yeah.
I once got an onboarding form from someone when I signed up for their coaching, and there was like a female only section. And it said, what year did you start menstruation? If any coach has ever used that as part of a planning, there's probably going to be some female health coaches that are like, yeah, that makes sense. This wasn't a female health coach that asked me this question. It says, what year did you start your menstruation? How old were you when you started your period, basically? What the fuck? What kind of planning is going to go into a coaching program based off like, Shannon, have you ever been asked what year you started your period other than by a doctor? She didn't even know. That's how important it is.
Yeah.
But because I think usually like I know because I've obviously taught high school kids that have started the periods, like generally it sometimes it happens in school and then it's quite harrowing for them and they probably would remember how old they were.
Like 11, 12, you're like 16 you can be.
Yeah, I know. It was my job. Not to obviously do
it. Yeah, careful.
What?
I thought I was never going to get one. I was like, just never going to have one. This is good.
And now she does that every month. Yes. Not having kids.
Right, we're definitely getting off topic here. But no, I completely agree. Like, again, same coach, application form, working on relationship with food, flat out not setting people meal plans. What foods do you like to eat on a daily basis?
Doesn't matter.
Why'd you care?
Yeah, you're not using it.
Like I appreciate at some point you will have a conversation with people about the foods that they're eating, particularly if you're dealing on relationship with food. But if you are sending somebody an application form with 50 questions in and using 4 age, weight, activity level to set that
because
plan.
They don't want it to look like they're not, like it is formulaic.
Yeah.
But if it is formulaic, like
cool.
It's formulaic. Sorry.
That's what's going to enable you to get results and eventually, if you want to, hire and train a coach.
Yeah.
Having a methodology, having something, going back to, we've gone way off topic, going back to the initial question of a bank of resources, your way of doing things, just deal with the stuff that you need to deal with. That's going to enable you to coach people efficiently, only get the information that you need, develop a methodology if you want to, and then train another coach to implement your methodology eventually.
Yeah. And I think my thing is and this is coming from a teaching background of getting fucking people to do things that you don't want to do. If this is the first time you're listening to us, I used to teach physics at high school level to kids that were not going to be engineers, put it that way. Not in all schools, some of them were fucking really bright, but like I taught an A-level class where the average predicted grade of that class was a D. The only reason they were doing A-level physics is because they had a quota to meet and none of those kids should have been on that course. So as a prerequisite to this, don't ever ask for people to do something that you're not going to give valuable feedback on because they will stop doing it. And guess what? Then you will be doing as a coach for some fucking mad reason, you'll be chasing them to fill that in. If your clients are not checking in, it's because A, you've either got the wrong clients and they're not bought into the outcome, and they don't really want it. It's just a transient thing.
Or they don't see the value.
Or they don't see the value in your check-in. If your check-ins are fucking brilliant, your clients will check in, or the majority of your clients will check in. I would argue that if you're having more than 10% of your clients not checking in on a weekly basis, it's because they don't see the value in the check-in, and the check-in is bullshit. And you're asking a load of fucking stuff that they don't get. If you set daily habits for your clients and they're not ticking them, that's because A, they either don't care about it, or B, you're asking them to do a useless exercise that's adding time in their day that they're getting no value from. And unfortunately, I'm a busy guy, right? If a coach ever says to me, tick that you've done 10,000 steps a day, no. If you start going, I need to know that you've done your 10,000 steps a day because I'm going to start amending it I need to know how many steps you've done today so I can set your targets in cardio for the rest of the week. I can see the point in that. I'll do it. But again, upload your food diary every single day, but then you never assess it, if you never give any feedback on it, and it's just like, hey, you've lost weight this week, well done. I'm like, why the fuck am I uploading my food? It must be right then, because I'm losing weight, so I'm not going to upload it. Then when there's a problem, you've got no data, but that's again not coaching. You've done no education. You've not worked with that client. They're not continually like, so guess what happens at that point? I've been set these calories. I'm losing weight. I'm not learning anything through this process about myself. Hey,
Bye.
I'm all right now.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to, no, you signed an initial commitment period. You said, you said you do 3 months. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I've extracted the maximum amount of value out of you in about 2 days. You wrote the plan. Well, it's probably going to take longer than 2 days for me to become disenfranchised by it, but I've wrote the plan. I've started getting results. I'm getting no further input on what I'm doing. It seems to be working. What the fuck am I paying you for? And that's a fair point.
Yeah.
And I think if that's happening a lot to a coach, again, you need to look at yourself and your service delivery. And I think off the back of that, once you listen, you're going to need help with this to start with. And that's why we'll template out and do things like that. But once you start to really understand what makes your clients tick, our best coaches, the coaches that we work with that go the furthest, have intricate details in their program that really make a difference for their clients.
Yeah.
So like one of our clients that works with high performers doesn't do daily check-ins with them, but has a weekly check-in with their PA to know what restaurants they're eating at, what hotels they're staying in, and then plans the stuff around that.
It,
Fucking brilliant. Because that business owner is going to pay for that. You work with my PA on making sure that my schedule is set up for that. If you try to work with the business owner will be like, listen, this is taking too much time and I don't care that much. But because it's a managed through his PA, fucking quids in. All that guy does is get told by his PA, this is what you're training this week. Your calories have been set based around what you're eating. This is what he recommends that you eat at the restaurant. He's like, cool, thank you. I can crack on now. Guess what? His business grows pretty much based off referral. Because that business owner is like, this guy fucking gets it. Like, he's not pecking my head in every day, but he's having an articulate conversation with my PA and setting out the right things. And then if he does have a question, he's on it like that. If he goes, mate, they've changed the restaurant today, I just need a back straight away. Not, oh yeah, well, I've got 24-hour response time. He's had to build his service around not talking to them at all, but then being super responsive when they do need
on it
it.
when it needs to, yeah.
And that's what you need to think about. If you really want to make a standout product and maximize your time, it's about trimming the fat of the shit that you don't need to be doing that maybe you've put in there because you think it needs to be there. And, what delivers a great service. Like for me, I never did video check-ins with any of my coaches. I never did video check-ins with my clients. You know why? Because my clients didn't want to they didn't want to watch me on video.
Yeah.
What I did was I voice noted them.
Yeah.
Guess what that meant? I could do 4 times as many check-ins. So I could check in with them multiple times a week. It also meant it took me next to no time. So I didn't begrudge sitting there and going back and forth with them 3 or 4 different times and making sure that we got to the root cause and it was solved. Rather than, oh, well, I can't get back to you because I've already done a 15-minute Loom video and I've got 30 other 15-minute Loom videos to do. And again, nothing wrong with Loom videos.
Yeah.
If there's something that maybe you need to teach, but do you always have to do one? No.
Yeah.
My coach sends me a Loom video now. I don't watch it. Play it on my earphones, He could just send me a voice
Listen to
note.
it, yeah.
If it's quicker for him, fair enough. But a lot of coaches, again, do what they think is right and not assessing actually what their clients need. And I think that's how you get a perfect balance of coaching and efficiency.
Yeah.
By not doing that dumb shit.
It's knowing in it. There is no right way to coach. There are plenty of wrong way to coaches, but there's no right way to coach.
There's no set formula of what a good coaching business looks like.
But there is a right way for your clients.
Yeah, there's a right way for each individual set of circumstances. And that is one of the problems with scaling a generic fat loss program. Everybody who comes from a different background with different struggles needs different styles of coaching, needs different levels of touch points. And you will be ran fucking ragged trying to deliver that to more than 20 people. And the coaches that are like, oh yeah, your service needs to be, tailored to any individual that wants to work with you, I would argue has never grown a large business.
Yeah.
Because you will know if you're trying to grow a business to a certain level, you need to decide what are the problems that I'm equipped to work with and what is my service there to deal with and what is it not.
Yeah.
And then you've got two options. You either build and pay and invest into building everything that they may need, or you decide that you're only going to work with a select set of issues. One will make you more profit than the other one, like percentage wise, but one will attract a larger amount of people because you're dealing with a wider range of problems.
And there are those businesses out there, and I can think of several already that do work with, I will work with everybody, I will get everybody a result. It's like, no, you will work with everybody and you'll get 10%. Like, it's the same people on your story. It's the same people. We're not like, people aren't idiots. People aren't idiots. They can see through that stuff. But yeah, it's, if you want to actually coach and help a specific set of people with specific issues, just get good at that. Get good at that. Figure out what that means for the client, figure out what they need and deliver that very well. That's it.
I think that's a good point to end on. So if you're struggling with that, obviously feel free to drop in my inbox or Lewis's inbox, to be fair, with any questions that you've got. So mine will be at @Steve_FBU. Lewis is at Lewis_FBU. You can have a look at that. Lewis actually does a coaching program where he coaches around client adherence and building specific client management systems for your kind of client.
I didn't know I was allowed to plug that.
No, I decided you were because you gave good information.
Sound.
It was you had to earn it. So again, that'll be on his Instagram if you want to have a look at that. Otherwise, hopefully that was useful, and we'll see you next time.